Hey guys, it's Jesse Humphrey, and I play drums for the band Carbon Leaf. Today, I'm actually selling this drum. This is a Pearl Reference Series drum right here. It's beautiful. It's a 14 by 5, maybe 5.5. I think it's 5. But I'm going to take you through exactly how I change my drum head, and I'm going to take you through that whole process. And hopefully we'll get this thing looking and sounding really nice, so it can go home to a new place and have somebody that's going to play it all the time. It's a wonderful collector's drum, but I'm not a collector, and I just don't need it. So if you want to buy this drum, go down below and shoot me an email. Sounds great, nice and crispy. It has really great attack, really great definition, really great sensitivity, and I'm just going to take you through this thing, and we're going to change up this drum head. The tools we're going to need are drum key, tension drum key, which is optional. And the thing that I love having on the road is a drill with a drum key bit. Those are the things that we're going to need. Let's get the snare drum. Like I said, this is a Pearl Reference Series drum. You can see it there. It's a 20-ply snare drum. It's very, very heavy. On the bottom, I have a Remo Ambassador snare side head, which is a little bit thicker, which is what I like on my bottom snare sides. I don't like anything too thin, like a Diplomat or sometimes a 300 series. This is the head that we're going to put on it. And it's an Evans Level 360 Genera head. The Genera head has a sound ring around the inside hoop there to control sound dampening. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change this top head, and that's really it. Okay, now that we have that all unscrewed, I'm going to take out each tension rod because it's been a little bit while since I've changed the snare head. So I'm going to take them all out, and I'm going to put a little bit of petroleum jelly, a little Vaseline on them to lubricate into the lugs. That way they turn and they're nice and smooth. I have the habit of not doing this for a long time, and I just started up again recently, and I find that tuning and just dealing with the tension rods and the lugs is a much better experience when you lubricate them. Let's take this top rim off. This hoop. I have a small towel. I'm going to wipe off any of the crusty stuff on here. Okay, let's get this drum head off. And now you're going to see why this drum is so sought after. This drum has 20 plies. So if I lean it up here, the outside plies is 14 plies of maple, and there's 6 plies of birch on the inside. So it's a pretty remarkable drum. It's beautiful on the inside. It's really nice. it's a really nice drum. It's funny, whenever I do things like this, it gets harder and harder to decide to actually get rid of things. So I'm going to put that down. The strainer's great. Bottom head is in wonderful shape. I'm not going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. Like some other drums that I've had. I sold a brass Yamaha snare drum, which I really had to go through and like with a fine-tooth comb and just like, really clean it out, because that brass kind of gets nasty if you're on the road a bunch, or if you haven't played it in a while. You can get pitting and things like that on the chrome and the brass and all that stuff. So that was good to clean, but you can always clean it out. Clean out your drums, guys. Like it basically turns it into a new drum. I've cleaned off the bearing edge. Make sure that you have nothing that's going to contact the drum head on the top here, because you don't want that to come into contact with the head. You want the head to sit flush with the bearing edge. That is the name of the game. Seat this up here like that, like so. I always like to, everybody's different, there's no right or wrong way to do any of this. I'd say subtlety is the best, but I line up my my badge, drumhead badge with the badge on the snare drum. That's how I do it. But like I said, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Subtlety is key. So you want to make sure you're not over tightening and cranking it right off the bat. The drumhead it takes time to stretch, and you can do things like push in the middle to stretch out the drumhead, but you have to make sure you're tensioning it nice and even around. That's why I have this Evans tool here, this drum key, this tension drum key. You can use things like the drum dial, which is a fantastic tool. There's lots of different things that you can use, but I like to set this thing around, the 5 mark. There's like a little dial here that you can use, and I set it to about the 4 or 5, just to get started. I have some Vaseline here. I'm going to use this. Make sure that there's no crazy gunk, nasty stuff on the tension rods here. They all look really, really good. All of the spacers look really, really good. They're clean. None of them are squashed. I don't have to replace any of those, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to get a little bit of the Vaseline, rub the first couple of grooves in there, and then I will... Oh, I didn't put the hoop on. So let me get the hoop. We have our hoop, which goes on nice and snug. Boop. There we go. Beautiful. And then we will work our way around, and I will speed this up. I will say, kind of in the middle of this, you really want to go easy with the Vaseline here. It's like, it can get a little messy, and it adds a step that you're going to need to, actually clean and wipe some of those things off. Wipe the excess Vaseline off when you're done, but it's worth it. This is one of the more important things. Like, when you're tuning your drum heads, you can do it any way that you want. There's tons of bands and tons of drummers out there that tune their drums. They find the spot, the one they like to crank, they just crank it up and it sounds great. Or they put it to a certain point where the stick rebound feels really good, and then they put some tape on it to dampen any kind of unwanted frequencies or unwanted ringing, and that's their sound, and it sounds really great. I'm a little bit in that camp. I try to get everything as even as possible, but if I feel like the drum isn't working with me, or if it isn't doing something that I like, I go ahead and I do whatever I gotta do to get that drum feeling and sounding the way that I need to sound. If that means putting tape on it, if that means cranking one thing up and one of the tension rods is kind of giving me a problem, and then if I crank that one up, or if I bring that one down, if it improves the sound, I'll go with it. I don't care. As long as I'm getting the sound that I need, I'm happy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune these things to finger tight. But to speed up the process, I'm going to do the drill, because the tension rods are on the longer side. So I'm going to do the drill, and I'm going to get them down to where I need them so I can get them finger tight. And then I'm going to work with this, whatever you call this thing, this like tension key. Now, as you've tightened those things up finger tight, the petroleum jelly or whatever you use, the Vaseline, that's a name brand, that will go up all of the grooves on the tension rods, and that's going to lubricate everything nice. So I'm just wiping off all the excess stuff, all the excess gunk I got here, and now I'm working with the tension key. So I'm going to get it to a point where it's not too tight, and then it snaps open. So the way that this thing works is I do the star method. So I go boom, 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 and I kind of work my way around that way. So I'm going to go this side, I'll turn until it pops. That's a pop. You get it back. Some people will be like, well, you're doing it wrong. You're not doing the right star pattern. This has just always been fine for me. It's not a big deal. This one was already kind of good. So what you want to do here is you want to work your way up incrementally. And, you know, I've had drums where they sound the best cranked, and I knew that I was going to be changing the drum head like pretty often. So I would just hit it with the drill. I'd get the drill at a certain setting that I knew was going to be not too crazy, and I would just drill it up until it hit that setting. And that was kind of the end of that. And then it would sound great, all cranked up, and then I used it until it didn't sound good anymore, and then that was it. That was the end of that. All right, so I'm going to crank this up a couple clicks, and then we're going to work our way around again. So the more clicks, the more tension. This is probably a little tighter than I should do it, and now I'm going to start working my way around clockwise. All right, this thing's pitched up pretty good, pretty high. So grab my stick, and they tell you all the time, make sure you take the snares off and you go around to make sure there isn't anything that's blaringly tuned up way too high or low. You want to listen for a pitch. You want that thing to be as even as possible. That's a little low. Yeah, a couple spots here. This one's a little low. And then you just go a little quarter turns. And you want to make sure that you're going across. So I just made the mistake of going from here to here. But if you want to get a nice even sound, because doing it from this side, tensioning up from this side will affect this side as well. So you want to make sure you're very, very subtle when you're doing these things and making very small adjustments. These two are down low, so I'm going to do the same adjustment here. High, low, way low. All right. That's feeling very good. We'll put the snares on. Nice and crispy. Sounds wonderful. And that's how I change the drum head, guys. So I like to leave it a little bit higher than normal just because this is going to stretch. If I'm not on the road and I don't need it to sound exactly the way I need it, I will push down in the center here and get it to stretch, but I overdo it just a touch. You don't want to like completely overdo it, just so it stretches out and has a nice even tone. And then the next day you come back, or a couple hours later you come back and you reassess. Where are you tuned? Where are you tuned to? What does it sound like? And then you want to make some adjustments. So you just keep doing that and until you get it to how you like it. I usually like to put a little bit of tape, a little bit of gaff tape over here to deaden up and dry the sound out. I like the way that feels, but there's no wrong way. If you find something that works for you, you do that. That's what you do. And then you just adjust as you go. There are some wonderful drummers out there. Carter McLean, I believe, has some of the best tuning, natural tuning with nothing on the drums. He is an incredible drummer, incredible artist. He has a special drumstick with ProMark that I have and I use on occasion, and it's kind of between a 5A and a 5B, and it has a nice tapered out tip on it. It's beautiful. It's a great stick, and I highly recommend you checking that out. Keep experimenting, find what works for you, find your sound, find the drummers, emulate them, just go out there and have fun, guys. All right. Thanks.